So over at MSY not too long ago, Southwest 737 MAX took off and had, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, did it take birds? It was an uncontained engine failure.
I don't think I've seen this one.
It played out almost exactly like the sim, because you do these 100 times, right? You put the little line out there and you go fly until you get everything squared away. Then you turn and then you go back and stuff. It's too bad we don't have Wombat because he does these 1 million times a day as an instructor. We're borrowing from Real ATC. Thank you. Oh, God.
Rated R.
All these things. Okay.
Southwest 554 on there, runway 115, runway heading for takeoff.
I recognize that guy's voice.
Hi, runway heading. Clear for takeoff, runway 11, Southwest 554.
All right, so they take off. Have you been in New Orleans since they put the new terminal in?
When did they put that in?
Oh, a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Southwest 554, connect first.
Southwest 554, emergency aircraft. We need to return.
Okay, so, well, hold on. Let it play real quick. I want to talk about something real quick.
Southwest 554, and second.
Okay, so he stays with Tower because this obviously happens like rotation. They haven't switched yet, which is interesting because in the military, what are you on when you take off?
Departure.
Right. So civilian, a little different. They don't necessarily auto switch you when you take off. So he was still with Tower. And I was reading the comments and some people get a little bit flustered about this because of what he just said, which was we're an emergency aircraft. And you get the say again. So there's a little bit of confusion. For the people at home, the IKO for declaring an emergency is what? Oh my God, Gonky, are we going to freeze you? Would you just thing here? So,
what Mayday? Is it Mayday?
Yeah, Mayday, or pan, depending on whether you need priority with emergency services and stuff like that. So, a lot of people are poo-pooing them for not saying Mayday. When this happened, I think that's garbage.
That's 100%
and I think the people that get mad about this are nitpicking. Because until you've had a real engine failure in real life, it is a little different than, well, he didn't say the right phraseology. I don't have any problem with this. And I bet you he's a military guy. 100%. Because in the military, we don't say Mayday, because it's French. It's surrender. It's help me. Right. No, we say as cool and as calm as we can be. River 11 emergency.
Yeah. I'm coming back.
So this guy, yeah, we're letting you know what's about to happen.
Exactly.
We are not Mayday. I've got a problem. Just declare the emergency. But anyway, I digress because people got mad at him for this, and then it's going to cause confusion. So they might be a little right, but I say these dudes did a great job so far.
Yeah,
we haven't watched the rest, but I digress.
Southwest 554, emergency aircraft. We're returning.
He repeats.
554, roger that, and turn left heading of 360 back to downwind.
360 heading downwind.
So as you can
see, you guys have smoke coming out of one of your engines.
So somebody keys up, and I think there's a picture of it trailing smoke.
564, turn left heading. 64, turn left heading 280.
Heading 280, Southwest 554.
You know why he sounds like that?
They don't have their mask on, do they?
They got their masks on.
Really?
Yeah.
So they were smoking probably from the packs.
Yep. Yep. They got in the cockpit because it was the number one engine.
Oh.
So they sound like this because they've wrapped. So think about this, dude. This happens low altitude.
No bueno.
Low altitude. Okay. They get everything. Okay. Now, I don't know about the Airbus, but the 737 requires a full boot of rudder, and then you trim it out to keep going. Like once you get squared away, you've got to trim it out. I mean, it does take some rudder. It's not because it's not like a F-18 or T-38 or something like that. It requires rudder. So they're fighting this, with the big yoke. And now they've got smoke in the cockpit. So they're doing the quick don mask, but you've got to go in, grab it, assuming they tested it, which legally you have to. That's not to say everybody always checks it every time.
Right.
Put this mask on, and now you're trying to talk. Dude, this is like a simulator nightmare. This is like your check ride. You're like, God, why did he give me all this?
No, you don't get the mask in your check ride in the sim because it sucks.
Yeah. So these dudes are at low altitude, hand flying. And they might have the autopilot on by now, but they're still.
I mean, dude, on takeoff, they just took off. They got their masks on now, engines out. Their plate's full, 100%.
Yeah, and they got some guy saying, "Hey, you're trailing smoke." They got smoke in the cockpit.
Yeah,
uncontained engine failure.
Delta 564 and Air Force off the left wing. Do you still have it in sight?
I recognize that guy's voice. I've talked to these people.
We do have the airport site, Delta 554.
Delta 564, you cleared visual approach runway 11, clear to land. Do you need emergency vehicle?
We need everything you have, cleared the visual, cleared to land 11, Delta 554.
I think that was a little extraneous from the controller. You declared emergency, at least in the military side, and I think that's civilian too.
Roll everything?
Yeah, when you declare an emergency, you get
I think they roll everything, don't they?
Or ARFFF, you get the firefighting until you tell them otherwise, which would be no assistance required, which is different, which goes back to the why didn't you say Mayday, Mayday, Mayday? But when you declare an emergency, you get everything. So
he's probably just double checking, man. I mean, how often does this happen, right? I mean,
Delta 564 and bases at your discretion. Delta 564, be advised we do have emergency vehicles waiting for you on the ground.
Cool story. I'm busy. Yeah.
554,
Right, take your time.
Don't tell me how. You're not my real mom. Don't.
Dude.
And Southwest 554, we had a burst like we lost the number one engine. We do need emergency equipment.
So at this point, you can tell they finally gotten to the point where they're like, okay, we got to run the checklist.
Yeah.
Here's what we have. We go through the procedures. Did you shut this off? Did you do this? How many souls on board? What are we needing? Brief the passengers, brief the flight attendants. Because remember, it's not just like we're sitting in an F-16. I briefed myself. I talked to the SOF. I talked to, maybe top 3 or whatever.
We landed by now.
You got a whole bunch of people you got to tell. Yeah. But the thing is too, it's a 2-engine aircraft. So there's not a huge hurry to get back on the ground. Unless something's on fire, which it doesn't sound like. I don't know what.
Well, they got their masks on. That's the only thing I'm like, man, there's smoke in the cockpit. I'm getting this thing.
And just let me know.
It may have gone away by now, though.
Delta 564, and are you ready for a base turn, or you still need a few minutes?
554, we still need a couple of minutes.
So,
take all your time you need. Paris 56, correct. Southwest 564, just be advised you'll be leaving the Bravo airspace.
Who cares? If you leave the Bravo, you leave the Bravo.
Right.
He's not a Cessna.
Southwest 564, and I see you're turning south. Are you turning inbound now?
We're doing a base, but we're not really quite.
So this is them. I can tell you 100%. They're still trying to mess with put the approach in, get all that stuff, and then get turned towards it. I mean, dude, there's a lot to do right now. They are busy.
In the 7.3, so in the Skybus, you can have it in your secondary. So if this ever happens, just activate the secondary, and then it'll all be
software,
right away.
Most of the time, though, you put that if there's like a departure procedure, like an emergency, the single engine out, where you've got to avoid mountains and stuff, and it'll auto come up. But I don't think New Orleans has anything like that.
No, it shouldn't. I mean, because it's pretty flat.
That's a good point, though. Turning when they did, off the screen over here is the city,
right?
Buildings and stuff. So, I mean, in some cases, you may say, hey, fly straight as long as you can, don't turn, but you don't want to go fly over the city with this thing. So I think it's a kind of a good heads up move to go, hey, let's get turned, this way.
Yep. Delta 564, no worries. Take all the time you need. For now, suggest heading 140.
I think the controller's doing a good job of helping him too. Although they overshoot, which is going to make the magenta line look like it's going to be like, well, it's going to be intercepting.
See you turn back towards the final. Are you commencing your approach now?
You know, someone's saying check ride bust right there, boys.
Yeah. But this is real life. It's not pretty all the time.
No, I know. No.
Southwest 564, and when able, if able, advise souls on board and fuel remaining.
Wait for this.
168 people on board.
They're full. I mean, I think you can get like 173 on that one.
South 564 and second.
168 people.
Roger.
Full of fuel, full of people. Oh, we overshot again. There you go. And they land.
Very nice. Very nice.
Dude. Honestly, I don't care what anybody says. They did a good job.
Yeah. I mean,
they did a good job. This is awesome.
And here's the thing, like, I mean, you could take a look at any emergency and there's been mistakes along the way.
Yeah, there's always
small
stuff
mistakes.
you can learn.
Right. Debrief items.
But, you know, I don't like the people that are like, well, they didn't use the right comp. Dude, smoke in the cockpit, lost an engine. I mean, this is not something that happens every day.
No, man. Smoke in the cockpit is a big deal.
Yeah.
Big deal.
Wow. You ever had an engine failure on takeoff?
I had the VEN fail in the Hornet on takeoff.
I hit a bird on takeoff in the T-38 during a formation takeoff, and I got time compression because it was at rotation.
Oh,
Dude,
yeah.
I did not know if I had aborted or if I had like for a while my mind was like, oh, I must have tried to abort and then changed my mind. But when you watch the HUD tape, it was like dude, there's a lot going on when you lose an engine low to the ground.
Dude, I lost a cylinder in a Cessna 172 at night with my wife. And by the time I got my head wrapped around what was happening, I had no clue where I was at.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, your mind does funny things in high stress scenarios. And these guys.
Yeah. Okay. So a question from Justin on this topic. Pardon me for not being an airline pilot. Why would you not just immediately put the bird down and instead plug on all sorts of landing information in? Because that is how you fly an airliner. So the safest way to land an airliner, especially when you've got a good engine, you know, what do they say, Gonky? No fast hands in the cockpit. If you speed up, you actually have more of a chance of creating an incident where this jet's still flying. Everything is still okay.
Well, Justin, so it really depends on the severity of what's happening to you. So I jump seated on a UPS 7.5 and the captain, his brief was, and those guys carry like lithium batteries and stuff, right? So for those guys, if they had a fire on board, he briefed the FO, he said, we're going to do a 180 and land opposite direction. And he said, you don't ask the tower that we can do that. You tell them we're doing that. So, I mean, you know, that's because statistically, right, that fire in the cargo hold, you don't have very much time.
Well, that killed those guys in the Middle East, right?
It killed them. Yeah, exactly. In the 7.4. But like Mover's saying, an engine failure is not, I mean, I don't want to say it's not a big deal, but there's plenty of performance left in the good engine,
right,
to more normally land the airplane. And a more normal landing in an airliner is the more safer approach to do it. Because if you get a little cowboy with an airliner, things can go sideways in a hurry. Because that's not normally how we land them, right? So,
yeah, and with the 737, you know, it calculates, you know, your V speeds based on your weight and stuff like that. You want to input all that stuff, have the right runway, have the approach loaded up in the box because you're under stress. The more you can make it look normal, the better your chances are. Because what happens is when the adrenaline gets spiked and that OODA loop gets going, people start making mistakes. And there's no reason to compound one emergency with mistakes of basic airmanship when it's not necessary. You know, you're not saving anything by trying to hurry and get back or anything, because like you said, Gonky, the engine had done its thing. Okay, we don't have that engine anymore. We shut it down. Okay, I've got one good engine. I'm going to get there. I'm going to get on the ground, you know, as it's land as soon as possible, not land now or else. It's as soon as you can safely do so. So awesome. Thanks for the question, Justin. I think it's valid to ask. It's, it's a multi-engine mentality, really.
Yeah.